Wednesday is on, and this is how we do it on the AM show. My name is Benjamin Akako. Now, coming up today, it's topical, it's germane, everyone is talking about it. What exactly? Well, it's about the Black Stars of Ghana and their underwhelming, some would say abysmal performances in AFCON 2021. Now, we've pumped a lot of money into this. We've pumped not just our money, we've also pumped our hopes, our dreams, our aspirations into the team. But the team, like I said, has been underwhelming. They've not been able to deliver the goods. But what exactly are the critical questions, and why is it that we find ourselves where we find ourselves in our football? Just think about it. From the 2006, 2010, 2014 World Cups back-to-back, our team at a point being rated 14th in the world on the FIFA rankings. Today, it's a different tale of the tape. The question is, why? Milovan Rajevac in his second term is not delivering the goods. He's spoken about the quality of the team. But yesterday, it was probably the worst we could do. Comoros that we felt we could walk over, well, they walked over us, beating us by 3-2. In the 60-something minute, there were 2 goals up. The critical questions are going to be asked this morning as we host industry players, as we host people who know sports, know football. And we're also going to love to hear from you via social media and via the phone lines. Where do we go next in terms of our Black Stars? Of course, one defeat does not mean a perpetual failure. We have a big conversation on that this morning. It's Wednesday. You can also expect us to bring you AM business. We're going to be having an interesting package for you. But let me just reverse a bit. When it comes to the news review, we're going to be hosting political scientist at the University of Ghana. I'm talking about Dr. Asa Santi. He's going to join us this morning as we delve into issues like Parliament reconvening and myriad other matters of political interest and socio-economic interest as well. This is how we do it. There's no better place to be. Let me tell you, we serve you the right, proper breakfast of news, information, and analysis. So just be with us and let's serve you the very best. My name is Benjamin Akako. Up next, we bring you the AM News.
Hello, good morning and welcome to the AM News with me, Mapisa CBD. Now, first story, 2 children have been recounting how a herdsman allegedly butchered their 15-year-old brother in front of them at Enthusiast, a small farming village in the Asante Achim North Municipality of the Ashanti region. The unidentified cattle herder, according to the children, accosted them at a water source and inflicted machete wounds on the boy, killing him instantly. The villagers searched the area minutes later and arrested 3 herdsmen and handed them over to the Agogo police. The indigents are calling for government's intervention to prevent a resurgence of an age-old conflict between the community and herdsmen. Live from Zarastas, Saridonko was in the community and now reports.
Enthusiast is a farming community with a long history of herdsmen cattle invasion of farms. But Monday's butchering of 15-year-old David Anaria has shocked the entire community. What was supposed to be a daily chore of fetching water with their elderly sibling turned bloody. So this is the water source for both the grazing cattle for the Fulani herdsmen and farmers who farm around this area. Now this is where the crime was allegedly committed. I have here the 2 children who have come back to the scene to pick their footwear, and they're going to tell us what actually happened.
No,
So he's showing me where the herdsman was seated, and he points to that tree over there. So at the point where he was about to, carry the gallon of water, which is still lying here, he said that the herdsman got up from his seat from there again and came back here. This time he drew his machete and came towards him. At this point, his brother was begging him to forgive him if he has done anything wrong. At this point, the herdsman was butchering the boy, and he says that he was shouting that people should come and rescue him. So he tells me that they ran, and at a point in time, he told his brother that they should part ways so that they will not be caught. And so he took another 10, and the brother took another 10. He went home to tell his people. Their father, Anaria, is distraught.
The way I've suffered to raise this boy. He was supposed to write his final exams next year. The law should deal with these Fulani people.
The killing is raising fears of the return of herdsmen to the area.
In fact, not fear alone, panic. Panic, because you see, all people, all the people here, we are all farmers. This time we are gathering our crops, and they will come destroying them. Destroying them, even if you tell about it, don't do all. What is this? And then if you don't calm down, trouble. So we fear even today to go to the farm. We don't know whether they have been hiding over there.
School has reopened, but who will send his child to come? How do you know if the child will come back safely? We were expecting the police and military to be here today to offer protection and to drive these people away so we can go back to our normal duties.
Police have since been visiting communities urging calm. Inspector Bwedi was seen addressing the community.
Police. Dia mu obia mo free say ha mo bia no dia fulani ni bia ye mo bia dia konkomani ayi obi bibia yesra mo.
Please, we urge you to send your grievances to the police. Don't take the law into your own hands.
Meanwhile, 3 suspects arrested in connection with the killing are receiving treatment at the Agogo Hospital after a near-lynching incident. Reporting for Joy News, Erastus Asaredonko, and Shaeso, Asante Achim North, Ashanti region.
Let's stay in the Ashanti region because a study by the Department of Chemistry, Kwame Nkrumah University of Science and Technology, has revealed as high as 50% increase in the concentration of metals such as zinc and iron in some mechanically milled fufu samples. Though from the research from estimated daily intake of metals such as zinc and iron was lower than the international food standards. They warn overindulgence in fufu may result in accumulation of these metals in the body, which though essential may result in unwanted effects with prolonged exposure. Joy News medical reporter Dr. Netta Pasram reports.
One, it's now watch it. Make that sound. We are media magic at the same time, it's also because we are not one man. You come from we are not yet a group. Woman so a one who the army, I'm not wanted two, as also as a
Fufu is a popular traditional delicacy for most Ghanaians, especially amongst the Ashanti. It is prepared from boiled cassava alone or in combination with plantain or cocoyam through pounding in a mortar with a pestle. The process of making fufu can be laborious, hence, in the spirit of technological evolution, some commercial fufu joints have opted for a faster and easier method, namely mechanically milled fufu.
I was sharp but full in the car, after the about 20, 30 years, no over 40 years, when you can area about me. Yes, that the end because you said that the end in time besides the machine that the end his son, that the end, you know,
A heavy metal is any metallic substance that is poisonous at low concentrations. It can either be inherently essential or toxic. Examples include iron, zinc, lead, chromium, arsenic, and mercury. A buildup of these heavy metals in the body is associated with brain, heart, and kidney damage, among others. The research published in the International Journal of Food Contamination explored the concentrations of heavy metals in mechanically milled fufu and its potential health risk to consumers. Miss Patricia Ivy Agozo, a graduate student of the department, partook in the research.
And generally these machines are made from steel, and due to the possibility of these components leaching into the food process and also the ability of these metals to store in our human organs, resulting in several health problems, are my reason for conducting this research. And also we sought to determine the level of consumers' awareness on the potential contamination of fufu from these sources. Yes.
A total of 30 milled fufu and unmilled fufu ingredients were sampled from 5 communities around KNUST campus in the Ashanti region. The results after laboratory analysis showed that chromium, nickel, and manganese were well below the detection limit. However, there was about 50 and 58% increase in iron and zinc concentrations respectively after milling.
And from my results, I realized that iron and zinc concentration had increased after milling. So with this increase after milling, it's an indication that this locally fabricated mill have added some amounts of this metal as a result of friction, wear and tear of the grinding part. Although right now the concentrations were below, I believe that with time, as these same machines are being used, they could present at higher levels. I also recommend regular monitoring. When it comes to food safety, there is a need to continue assessing these levels.
This is an indication that mechanically milled fufu is safe for consumption within the study area. However, it is important to be cautious of overindulgence. I am Dr. Netta Pashram reporting for Joy News.
In the northern region, school pupils of Uni Primary are back in school after staying at home for 4 years. The pupils had stopped going to school after a rainstorm poured off the roof of the school. It became a disincentive for the pupils who had to sit under the sun to study, forcing most parents to withdraw their awards from the school. School authorities were compelled to close down the school. Correspondent Martina Bugri has the latest.
Heavy rainstorm 4 years ago ripped off the roofing of the school. This forced school authorities to conduct lessons under trees in the school. But this could last only from 7 to 9 a.m. This compelled several parents to withdraw their award, forcing the school to be shut down. Well, today the situation has been addressed after the Member of Parliament for the area, Dr. Hamza Adam, re-roofed and renovated the entire structure.
The school entire roof was ripped off by a windstorm, and the community and the enclave had been out of school for the entire period. I took it upon myself to make it as one of my priority projects that will bring education to the doorstep of the people. And so for that matter, I give out the school to a contract. And I must say that I am happy to rejoice with the people today because the school has been fully renovated. And as you can all see, quality product delivered by the contractor.
The newly posted head teacher, Ibrahim Abdul Fattah, said he had to go around the community to get the people to report because the community did not know schools were reopening today.
I came here as early as 7 a.m. and when I came, there wasn't any people around. I saw two of them around the community, so I went to listen and then asked them why they are not in school. They said they are not aware that school is reopening today. So they asked, are you our teacher? I said, yes. Hey, come and see the excitement from their faces. So they quickly ran into the community and called the others to come.
The district planning officer of the Ghana Education Service, Elizabeth Na, praised the MP for prioritizing education and assured that teachers will be posted to the school.
We as a directorate, we have come to realize that education, or for that matter, quality education, is key to the Honorable MP for the district. Since the past years, he's shown us that by building and renovating school buildings, not only that, giving us furniture. And one of such is what we are witnessing today.
The MP also commissioned a renovated health center at a cost of 60,000 Ghana cedis at Gbulun. He charged the nurses to continue to serve the people diligently.
The health center had been in a deplorable state for many years, and many attempts to renovate this building couldn't happen. So when I took over as a member of parliament, and as you can see, we have been able to commit an amount of about 60,000 to get the building in shape.
The district health director, Seydou Barkiso, said the clinic was in a deplorable state until the MP came to their aid. After several attempts to renovate, it failed. She appealed for support, especially for accommodation for the Singer community, which is the Singer Health Center, which is serving 6 hard-to-reach communities in the Kumbungu district.
And the biggest issue to me on my desk right now is Singer, which is a hard-to-reach area. You need to cross the White Water to access the communities in Singer. And they virtually don't have accommodation, but the community is putting up something. And just like Oliver's Waste, we will ask for more. And if something can be done about it.
In our last story, a development enthusiast has devoted a portion of his savings working in the diaspora to help develop his home community, Central Kofi Baruna, in the Guan district of the Oti region. According to Simon, he saved $40 US daily for 23 years during his stay in the United States of America working in the hospitality industry. He has since begun initiating development projects, starting with the construction of a concrete road. There's more in the following report by Fred Kwame Asare.
Central Kofi Baruna is the community that welcomes you to the Oti region driving through Hohwe. Indigents of this underdeveloped community are mostly peasant farmers. They are plagued with bad access roads, a lack of potable water, and a befitting health center. This gave reason to Simon Amauga's decision to commit a portion of his earnings to the development of the community. He has since constructed a concrete access road to connect the Bachana suburb of the community to the Hohwe-Jasakain Highway.
So when I got to America, I decided to save towards purposely for this project. But for the first few years, I was not able to save. So after some 5 years, I came back to my senses and start making up the money. Like I was trying to save like $1 a day. But after the first 5 years, I missed a target. So I had to make it up to $40 a day. So in 22 years, I was able to save money about $368,000. And then I was sure I can be able to fulfill my promise. I really want a legacy for the village. Building a house for myself is not a good thing to me. It's just for me alone. But whatever I can do to help the community, that's the most important to me. That was one of the most important reasons why I did this.
Residents are currently experiencing a lack of access to potable water as the only water system serving the community has broken down.
I'm thinking of the school buildings, the classroom, and most of all is the water. I want to get the water to the village. By 2022 December, I should be able to build something that will sustain, solve the community water problem once and for all. That's my next project.
The assembly member for Santrokofi-Brenua electoral area, Nana Opoku Minta, lauded the efforts of Mr. Meuga.
At least this road was first constructed up to the school compound by the elder brother known as Mejigbe Ameu. So this road later became a very deplorable road that no car can even pass on. So it was a very welcoming news to the community to hear that he was coming to construct it. And lo and behold, he came down, sent people to come and construct the road. And they started it, and he has done it, and it's now something the community is very proud of.
The traditional authorities acknowledged Mr. Meuga's commitment to enhance the livelihoods of residents and honored him. Fred Kwame Asari, Joy News, Santrokofi, Brenua.
And that's how we end the AM News. For more news, you can log into myjoyonline.com. My name is Mapita CBD. The AM show continues with Benjamin.
Well, let's get into the papers now. Time now for the news review. We'll be joined by Dr. Asa Asante, who is with the Political Science Department at the University of Ghana. But for now, let's start with the major headlines from the papers, starting with the Daily Graphic. And it says, bringing back the splendor, parks and gardens set for action. If you've lived long enough in this country, you know about the parks and gardens and how in recent times we've left a lot of them to look like pale shadows of themselves. Well, the Department of Parks and Gardens will start the beautification of the medians, shoulders, and roundabouts of major roads across the country from February this year. The exercise, which will be done in collaboration with the Department of Urban Roads, will entail the planting of shrubs and flowers in the medians and the pruning of trees and the slashing of hedges to shape them. And so that is on, it's continued on page 3. Let me say a good morning now to Dr. Asa Asante, Director, Center for European Studies at the University of Ghana, political science lecturer as well. Doc, a very good morning to you.
Good morning.
It's a great pleasure to have you once more join the conversation. And I just started with the Daily Graphic newspaper. I'll just wrap with some of the headlines and we'll get into some topical issues. Now, venture capital fund to be recapitalized with $40 million. That story is on page 13 of the Daily Graphic newspaper. And of course, it has to do with startups. So the government is capitalizing the Venture Capital Trust Fund with $40 million to enable it to fund more viable startups in the country. The funding was secured from the World Bank Group to help revive the trust fund and strengthen it to provide funding for investors for the transformation of small and medium enterprises, especially viable young enterprises. What is going to be the full effect of this, though, on startups and on something as troublesome as unemployment, especially youth unemployment? Those are the big questions. Auction men's gold properties court orders, that is also on page 13. And the Financial and Economic Crimes Division of the Accra High Court has given the Economic and Organized Crime Office the green light to auction the properties of the defunct gold firm, Men's Gold Ghana Limited. The court, presided over by Justice Ifiasewa Asare-Butchie, gave the authorization following a motion filed by Iyoko praying the court to allow it to auction the properties of the defunct company. So they have the green light now to go ahead. And another topical one, Atoforsen denies causing 2.37 million euro loss to the state. On the back page, Black Stars crash out of 2021 AFCON after losing 2-3 to the Comoros. And Nigeria to maintain perfect record tonight. So, we are not faring too well. In fact, we've crashed out, but our Nigerian brothers and sisters are still in there. And of course, why not root for them? We just might support them too. Rivalry aside. Anyway, those are the stories in the Daily Graphic newspaper. Doc, I know this isn't something we talk about a lot of the time, but our parks and gardens, I mean, you go way back enough. I know you know the history of them and what they used to be like and what they are now. Even I remember some years back, some of our locations for parks and gardens were now being taken over by private persons who somehow had secured the rights to these places for developments and all of that. There's a new initiative where the urban roads and the Department of Parks and Gardens are starting the beautification of medians and all of that. But again, if you recall the beautification projects we've had, none of them have really had any impact. What do you make of this situation?
Yeah, thank you, my brother. I think it's long overdue. Why am I saying that? We started well in this country, getting all our parks, to the scratch.
Right.
And all of a sudden, we lost the whole essence of having a beautiful park and all that. I am happy to hear that now we are set to go into action and get the basics right. My prayer is that we will continue to maintain the standard that we will set. Time and again, we tend to have, as soon as we take a decision, we slip back. And maintenance has been a serious problem affecting us in this country. So it's my hope and prayer that this time around, we'll do things differently and bring our cities to the shape that we want. Travel around the world, you see nothing but with beautification of cities, towns, and peri-urban areas. It's all about this park and gardens, the activities and all that. Why are we slugging here? So I think it is a wake-up call, and we have to do it well. If we're able to do it well, all well and good. It's for all of us.
The bit about Men's Gold's property being auctioned, I mean, it's been a long-standing matter, years down the line. A lot of those who threw their sweat, their blood, their resources into Men's Gold are still plaintive. They are complaining. But now we've been told that some of their property is going to be sold and all of that. What are your quick reactions? Recently, I heard of another group that was offering mouth-watering interest rates to citizens and how the SEC and all of that had come into the fray. But the Men's Gold matter still remains an albatross round the neck of not just government but ordinary Ghanaians. Now some of their property is going to be auctioned. For you, how much of a positive news is this?
Yeah, as you rightly pointed out, this has been a very thorny issue. And then the good news is that the court has taken the matter on board, and then they are handling it. We want to see how best the court does it, so that it will bring, life back to people who invested in that venture. I know that once such a decision is being taken, and the court is involved, they'll be able to carry it through perfectly. Let's hope and pray that we get there perfectly.
Let's look at the Ghanaian Times newspaper now and some of the topical matters. President mourns death of former Malian President Ibrahim Keita. There's also the bit about Atoforsen and those 2.3 million euros, the ambulance case. It's still in there. Atoforsen, 2 others granted bail, and other stories will tell you that his passport has been confiscated. Brouhaha over semester calendar. GES teacher unions to meet over agitations. That story is on page 18. And let me take a swipe at it. It says the management of the Ghana Education Service has assured that it would continue to engage the various teacher unions and other stakeholders to address all concerns raised about the new school calendar. Doc, let me run some of those concerns by you. The teachers are saying, the teacher unions, I'm talking about TEU, I'm talking about CCTGH, I'm talking about NAT and NAGRAT. They are saying, you did not consult us in this process. In fact, some of the think tanks like Africa Education Watch and IFEST are also complaining. You had no consultation with us. You went ahead with this. We are the ones going to teach. We're going to spend extra hours. We don't even know what benefits we're going to get from this. Again, they are talking about the fact that the learning hours are too long, even for kindergarten students. I mean, you're talking how many hours? Up to about 6 hours in a day. And you're talking about 20 weeks. You're a university lecturer. Not even university students go for 20 weeks. So these are some of the matters that have been raised. How do you feel about this entire semester system at the basic level, Doc?
It's very, very unfortunate, to put it bluntly. That why do you want to take a major policy decision without involving the stakeholders? Right. This is a sorry story, to say the least. Because, look, it takes two to tango. You need all the stakeholders to be part of this process so that you make it a reality. Why is it that the ministry is sort of appropriating the whole process to itself and leaving all the stakeholders who are the movers and shakers of the process? It's very unfortunate. I don't get it. Because, look, all these groups work for the common good of our children and for the schools. So whatever decision you take, you need to involve them. In public administration and even in political science, so to speak, any decision you take, you involve stakeholders so that they become part and parcel of the problem and part and parcel of the solution. The essence is that when that issue is taken, when that decision is taken and you involve them, they become what? Owners of the decision. They defend it when the issue comes on attack. Here you are. You see how they are attacking the process. And it's simply because you refuse to do the needful. They should what? Put their house in order and get the basics right. It's a very simple matter. I am even surprised to hear that you want to go for 20 weeks and all that. Where did they get that theory from? I'm so surprised. Because even at the university, we run 13-week semester, 13 weeks. And why do you want to engage kindergarten boys and girls for very long hours to study and all that? Please, GES, this one, I'm sorry to say, you need to go back to the drawing board and get the basics right. Involve the people, let them come out with what? Professional advice, not any type of advice that somebody dreams of and want to implement. We don't run a society like that, and for that matter, the state. It is a sorry story.
Well, Ms. Cassandra Chuma-Mpofu has indicated she's in charge of public relations at the GES, and she has said that they're going to keep engaging the teacher union. In fact, they're going to start, I should say, because some of that was not done initially. But we've also heard from the GES, one of their deputy directors, who has said that, I think Dr. Tando, who has said that they are not going back on this, that the semester system will stay. It's something they're going to do. Moving forward then, what do you think should be the approach of the teacher unions in the face of this? Because it appears the GES has dug in its heels and they are saying, we're going to do this anyway.
You see, there's nothing wrong coming out with a beautiful policy, but you need to get stakeholders in so that they strengthen the frontiers of that policy if there's a need to do that. Why are they taking this type of entrenched position? Are they the ones who are going to drive home the policy? I'm so surprised. This type of pusher doesn't help any governance process at all. You need all those who matter in this case to be brought on the table to have their ideas on board. That is all. That's how we govern. Consensus should not be difficult for people to reach. They should always learn to build consensus. That's the way to go. But these days, looking at government push, I'm inclined to believe that it is losing that steam of what? Trying to get people around the table to discuss issues of importance that affect society. Government must up its game on that because it's not speaking well for government at all. And it doesn't help government business. You need to what? Build consensus. It is the way to go in a democracy, whether they like it or not. That is it. Because, look, you are not the one going to run the program at all. It is these teachers, these administrators, and all that. What is wrong involving them? I'm so surprised.
Crucial points you make there. Let's take a quick look at the august House of Parliament. There's a story there on page 28 of the Ghanaian Times newspaper. Will return to Parliament with e-levy and ensure its passage this month. That's according to Mr. Charles Edubuahin, Deputy Minister of Finance, is it Minister of Finance at the seat of the presidency. Now, I want us to look at Parliament from different angles before we come to what Charles Edubuahin has been saying. And it has to do with your assessment of this 8th Parliament in its first year. We've seen them in the first year where it started and ended with fighting. But we've seen them with some major policy decisions as well. But when the budget came, it appears everything came crumbling down again. If you had to rate or assess this 8th Parliament for its first year's performance, how would you rate it on a scale of 1 to 10?
I always don't want to involve in rating and all that, but I want to bring the issues to the doorstep of the ordinary man. What type of parliament do we have? This is a parliament which is hung in nature. So if you want to run such a parliament effectively, all that you need to do is sharpen your skills about how to organize the parliament, and that is to do with consensus. You try to build bridges, you try to build consensus, you need to talk to people, sharpen your lobbying skills and all that. You don't just come and surprise people with a budget, which part of it has a certain, controversial issue in there. All that you do is that you talk behind the scenes, lobby people, let people know the essence of having that bill passed. You see, if you are a student of politics, there is something we call state capacity. All there is to it is that you need to manage every state very well, given the resources that is in your hands. And to be able to do this, one cardinal principle you need to always remind yourself is that you need to get the people on board. One of such capacities is regulatory capacity. Another one is extractive capacity. Let's concentrate on the extractive capacity. It is the duty under extractive capacity. We are saying that the state has the power to, generate revenue to run the affairs of the state. So for me, I am in favor of any taxation that the state can derive to run the state. Fine. But for this particular levy, scholars in accounting, in finance, and in economics have said that given the circumstances we find ourselves, it will be so difficult for people to bear this type of tax. So why don't you peg it between 0.5 and 1.0? Our government saying, look, take it or leave it. We are running now, running to town with 1.75. For me, very, very unfortunate. You need to build consensus on that. James Otis has said that if you want to really come up with a budget, all right, which is the role of the executive, sending into parliament, you need the approval of the people. And this we are saying that if the people don't approve, then why do you want to send a bill to parliament? Why you don't get the approval of the people in place? No, you need the people's consent for the bill to go through. So you need consensus and all that. Government didn't do this work, and that is why we are in this state that we find ourselves. Very, very unfortunate. I think now government, all that has happened, government will reflect on it and then do the needful so that they get this bill passed and run the affairs of the state. As it looks, as we find it now, it is very difficult to see whether the government will be able to marshal forces to get this thing passed. For the government to succeed in this area, they need consensus. Consensus is the way to go. Talk to people, explain the rationale. And once you explain to them, listen, have a listening ear, listen to them. Because governance, it is a process where we discuss, with dialogue. It is not a monologue where you said, take it or leave it. That for me, it is not the best for government at this time of the day where government want to go ahead with its fine projects, and then leave a legacy that would stand the test of time. Let us remember that you can never win any elections in this country when you have no records. Election is nothing but what? Contest of ideas and a referendum of your work. Which work are they going to show to the people?
What do you think, though, about... So you think that, well, it's a tax. Government obviously is... needs this tax. Some would say it is on the ropes, economically speaking, but government has rebutted that. But the point is, government needs to generate these funds to be able to run the state. But at the same time, people have complained about, I mean, could we reduce it from 1.75? Is that feasible for you? What percentage do you think, I mean, from where you sit, would be feasible? Because I keep pointing to the fact that a neighboring country wanted even 0.2% in terms of an electronic levy. And the people said no. We don't want even 0.2%, but we are thinking of what? 1.75. Do you have any take on that? Do you think we could reduce the percentage?
Yes, I have said that. I'm not an economist, you know for sure. Right. But all that I'm saying that economists and people with knowledge in this area have said that between 0.5 and 1 will be reasonable to bear. So this is where the conversation must start, so that at the end of the day, you arrive at a amicable, tax component that will be what? Easy for people to handle. The essence of governance is to make life better for everyone. So if you want to derive so much in terms of tax and people will feel very uncomfortable, people will not be able to make ends meet, then it's an exercise in futility. Government must get this thing straight. We don't need to belabor the point at all.
Let's do Republic Press newspaper. Court issues bench warrant for arrest of Deputy Minister of Tourism. One nabbed for smuggling narcotic drug into Wager toll booth police cell. There's Ashanti Region Police rescue baby an abandoned vehicle at Dakojom, and Atofosen's passport seized. There's also Otumfor fires salvos. It has to do with some chiefs under his jurisdiction whom he feels are being treated unfairly, threatened in certain cases. But this one is what I want to focus on, Doc. Shameful. That is the scream by the Republic Press newspaper. Shameful as Black Stars exit AFCON winless. 40 years in the wilderness when it comes to, securing the AFCON title or the African Cup of Nations trophy. And this is going to be another botched attempt. When you turn to page 13, there's another story there. It's Kwesi Yanka's viewpoint. And he says, "Weep not, Jan, weep not, Ghana." That is the headline there. Something that I just wanted to run by you, though. There's been a response to, the Fix the Country group. They actually wrote to the high office of Mr. President, pursuant to Article 146 of the 1992 Constitution, asking for the removal of the chairpersons of the Electoral Commission, the chairperson and the deputies, in respect of what has happened in SAL. Santro Kofi Likbe, Lolobi, and all of that. And now a committee has been constituted, 5-member, I believe, and the matter is going to be taken up. Do you feel it remains, how would I put it, something dastardly that we've done to the people of SAL that we've still not rectified, even heading into another election in 2024? They don't have representation. How do you feel about that matter? And do you feel this is justified, the call for the removal of the EC boss and their deputies on the back of the said injustice that has been done to the people of SAL?
It is this injustice that has sent the matter to court that they are looking at. Let's give the court the time to reflect on this and come out with a solution that will stand the test of time. But if you look at it generally from point of view of elections, any election where people are not part, where some people are not made part of the process, it becomes a difficulty, an aberration, a misnomer. So if you want to grow your democracy, we want to get everybody, that's what we call universal adult suffrage. Anybody who has reached the age of voting and by law is qualified must be part and parcel of what the process. What we saw in that place is very unfortunate situation. But my joy is that the matter is before court. The court will handle it, and then they give us the best solution that will stand the test of time.
When you go to the Daily Guide newspaper, Lands Minister pledges more action. I'm talking about Samuel Abu Jinapo. He's been speaking recently on state broadcaster GTV. But one thing I recall from yesterday was the fact that there was talk about, in dealing with the Galamsey menace. He's saying that we'll need about 4 to 5 years to deal with major problems when it comes to illegal mining or illicit mining and its consequences on our water bodies. The turbidity levels and all of that are still exceedingly high. And this is where it gets interesting. In recent times, we've heard from the Ghana Water Company Limited, Stanley Marty and others speaking for them, saying that we're getting to levels where a lot of our, well, owing to the dry season or the Harmattan and all of that, our water bodies are drying up. In some places, you can only abstract or extract mud, and so it's increasingly difficult. And when they do get water sources, treating them so that the water is usable, domestic use and all of that, is an exceeding hurdle. If you put that side by side with the fact that the lands minister is saying it's going to take us 4 to 5 years to deal with this menace, which is also affecting our water supply, some green groups, eco groups have said, no, this timetable of 4 to 5 years. I mean, will you even be in power by then? Would you even still be lands minister? So many questions. What's your reaction?
My reaction is very simple. We have failed as a state to do what is right for ourselves and for the generation yet unborn. Simple, very simple matter. Why am I saying that? This issue of Galamsey, we have approached it with in a form of lip service. We are not paying serious attention to it. We play politics with it. We make it campaign issue and all that. And when we are giving the mandate, we are not able to rise up above what board. Why? My simple view is that we don't want to do it. Simple. Because if
we don't want to do it, basically the political will is not there. It's not really there.
Where is the will? Where is the will? Because see, we are talking as if the Galamseyers are coming from other parts of this country, other part of Africa, or not in this country. They are here, right here. If you go to the constituency, even or where these activities are taking place, even small boys and girls there, when you ask them, they can tell you who are engaging in. And government has turned what? Blind eye on this for over the years. And they only come to what? Rationalize all manner of theories. We don't want to fix it. That is all. Because if we want, we'll be able to apprehend these people, come out with a policy that will stand the test of time and deal with the issues head on. What are we doing? Now, the reality is staring at our face that we are going to what? Have crisis in water. What about even food production? And even the ecosystem we are destroying with impunity. And yet, all that there is to it is what? Come and what? Rappers with stories, justifications, and all manner of propaganda. We are not helping the state at all. We need leaders who are bold and can face it and damn the consequence. If you chart such a path and even people, you become an unpopular minister or unpopular DC and all that, let it be. Your work will stand the test of time and posterity will judge you. We don't have the political will. We must what? Say it that. There is nothing like a timetable that we know how to deal with this thing head on. Look at how the president handled the issue of what, party boys who are the warring the state and all that. He sent a bill to parliament and made sure that anybody who engages in that type of program, you are going to jail and all that. It is this approach that we need to deal with this type of problem, which has been an albatross around our neck. It is very unfortunate that we lack the political will. Governance is for people who have the political will. If they think they don't have the political will, they must look for alternative people who can deal with this issue. And in politics, issue of favoritism, nepotism, and then chronism should be a thing of the past if you want to address problem head on. That is the way to go.
Two quick ones I want to run by you very quickly, and then it will be done. But before that, the Ghanaian publisher Catholic Children's Hospital project takes off. That's an interesting bit there. The first one has to do with SIM re-registration. And the other day I was asking you about it. Have you been able to register? Have you been able to
re-register? I have not tried. I am scared with the skills that I see. But I want to believe that sooner than later, they will do something about it so that all of us will get on board and do it peacefully.
Okay, so I'll give you some good news, at least from my end. On Sunday, to be fair, my church, my parish, organized a session. I have 3 of them, both, Airtel, Tigo, Vodafone, and MTN. The queues were not so long, so I was able to register my Vodafone and my Airtel Tigo. It's left with my MTN. The queue was pretty long. So at least I'm looking forward to what will happen from here. But the NIA has raised doubt about the quality of NCA's biodata collection. In fact, they've put a statement out there that points to that. And the NIA, of course, has our bio details that the NCA could be feeding into. Do you still have major problems with the process so far? I mean, the queues, yes, they may have gone down, but queuing is still happening. What more can we do in this respect?
You see, when we plan and plan properly, we'll be able to address problems in no time. The NCA, the national card, they have done a very great job by putting into their system a lot of data that we will need to address problems like this. I have read about where Professor Tifa is questioning the exercise they are doing from the perspective that, look, what you are looking for is already captured into the system.
Exactly.
So why are we in this quagmire? Why are we in this difficulty? If we are able to link institutions together, we get proper briefs, proper orientation, we shouldn't have difficulty in handling these things. Look at man hours being spent for nothing. An exercise that should take what, a minute or two, at most 5 minutes and all that. Today you have to go there and spend all the time there to get a SIM registration done and done properly. We need to be able to get our acts together and then ensure that digitization works for everybody. Look, data and digitization have come to stay, whether we like it or not. No government can change this. And that is why I am for digitization and data, management throughout this political system, because it is the way to go. Once you get the infrastructure right, once you get your information, you get everything, there is very little that you have to do in order to achieve results. We need to come abreast with time so that it will address the lingering challenges that we have in our society once and for all.
Let me just sneak in this for all of you who are watching us. Fuel price increases, imports up by 57% and at the pumps 33%. What impact would all of this have at the fuel pumps? Well, only time will tell. But Doc, thank you so much for joining us for another Wednesday morning, and we wish you the very best of the working day.
Most grateful. Most grateful.
Dr. Asa Asante is a political science lecturer. He's also Director, Center for European Studies at the University of Ghana. This is where we actually wrap it up for the news review. Coming up next, sports, and we're going to go heavy on the Black Stars. Do stay. Thank you for staying with us on the AM show. Time now for AM Business. Now, the Ghana Revenue Authority achieved its target for last year. Data cited by Joy Business shows the GRA was able to collect a little over 57 billion cedis. Today on AM Business, George Riafe engages Commissioner General Reverend Dr. Amishadai Owusu-Amwa on Ghana's revenue mobilization profile.
Yeah, I think we realized where we stood and the challenges that are around. And if I would just chip in, normally, if you have read Who Moved My Cheese, when your cheese is moved, you try to find out where can you get other cheese. And those who have read that book. So basically what we're trying to do is to look at various avenues, and we put a number of strategies that will ensure that we will achieve the target. I mean, if you recall, some of them, number one, the thing to the Ghana card was one issue. Though I will not say that much money has come through the first year yet, but at least it created an awareness, and many people started trying to make sure that they can come in and file their taxes, especially when you made a lot of noise about the professionals. Number two, we talked about the waiver of interests and penalties. And that one, for example, by the time we ended the year, more than 2,100 taxpayers had applied for the waiver of interest and penalty, even at the domestic side only. And the total of about 2.2 billion of debts, out of which about 1.1 billion was paid before the end of December, and another interest of about 400 and penalties of about 600 were waived. So again, these debts has existed for a couple of years, and people took advantage because we saw the pandemic situation, and then put in that policy to say that if you can come in and give you a spread over 6 months to pay your tax, and you can pay the principal. We're ready to waive the interest and penalties. And many people took advantage of it.
How did digitization also contribute? You have the online payment, so even though it was quite difficult to let these persons go into these companies, do the double checking, there was an online platform where businesses could still pay their taxes. How did that also contribute to the numbers that we saw for end of year 2021?
It contributed significantly because there are two key things that happened last year. One, in terms of being able to file online, and many people filed. And then two, being able to pay online. And for the first time in January, we were able to take off all payments out of our offices. And that created room in the offices such that people don't go there to queue. You just go there to transact your tax business. Number two, it removed the issue about dishonest checks and the issue about sometimes money flowing from the authority even to the bank accounts. So we didn't have any dishonest checks because people will only pay when they have the money and they just have to clear. Previously, we had got a lot of checks that come in and they don't get honored. So that also, and then for when people have convenience, you know, paying tax is not easy, as I always say. But if it's convenient for you to pay, then at least you take advantage as well. So one, it blocked some of the leakages, which was like the example of the leak. And then two, it made it convenient for people. So it also helped a lot. And then also digitalization on the port side. When we introduced the ICAMs, I think we introduced, as we saw in 2020, we saw the increases beginning in 2020. And it continued significantly all over the year. And that led to customs division doing over 27% year-on-year increase and going over 16 billion. So that aside, that aspect also helped a lot. So digitalization actually really helped. And Ghana.gov coming through, because again, now when we do, the collections are done by the banks within 48 hours. Automatically the money moves to the central bank. Previously, they have to do a manual transfer, and there were also issues about reconciling what have been transferred and what have not been transferred. That was for working with two banks. Today we work with 22 banks, and we don't have those reconciliation. And you can imagine if with two banks we had reconciliation challenges, if not because of automation, digitalization, we would have never. But when we talked about wanted to introduce all the banks to the question people ask me, you are struggling with reconciliation with two banks. How will you manage 22 banks? And digitalization did it. So I think that is also a very significant part of it.
Let's look at, they're not getting into specific numbers or ratios. Let's look at the various tax types as well, domestic customs as well. Was it all rosy in all these tax types? So there were some challenges, some areas that has come up to your attention?
There were challenges in some areas that have come to our attention, and many areas did very well. PAYE, for example, improved significantly. I think that as we were coming out of the pandemic, I'm not saying coming out, not that it has ended, but people found ways of managing it, and therefore more people were in employment. And again, some of our the work on PAYE in terms of making sure that more people pay the PAYE. So we saw PAYE increasing. We saw corporate income tax, and I'm looking at domestic corporate income tax also increasing. Some of the sectors, like the financial sector, did quite well. Some of the mining areas also did well. But some of the areas that we still saw we had challenges is with personal income tax, for example. We know personal income tax, the vehicle income tax are also treated as personal income tax. And with the suspension of the vehicle income tax in 2021 budget, it meant that those incomes, so that saw a shortfall from the previous year to the current year. So this year we need to find out ways of being able to bring in some more people into the personal income tax bracket. Another area that we also saw some declines include the mineral royalties, and we are trying to also understand some of the dynamics there and also be able to see where the shortfalls are. And then I also want to say that in the extractive sector, because we focus a bit more on compliance, we're able to get some payments coming through, and it's something that we'll continue to do in the year that we have entered to make sure that we'll be able to get some more revenues from that area. So to answer your question, yes, some tax types did well, other tax types did not do all that well, and we have analyzed it, and we are trying to find ways of improving them.
With respect to communication service tax, and I stand to be corrected, was it more of the revision in the rate, or it has to do with the fact that you struggled in collecting taxes in that area?
I think it's more of the revision of the rates.
Okay.
Yes, because the communication service tax, the CST, because of the automation as well as the work that is being done by the common platform for monitoring, I think that as far as going forward is concerned, since they started the monitoring, we don't have many challenges in the collection. And it is the revision of the rates that actually, and people were expecting that with the revision of the rates and with the increased usage in terms of data and other things by many people for online meetings, maybe we'll have made more money than the previous year. But I don't think that that increase was sufficient to make money. And I think that the government did it for a good purpose, because we all knew that that was a time that people were relying on data, and therefore it was necessary for them to be able to use the data effectively at less cost.
A target of 57 billion was set in a year where, unlike compared to previous years, it has been reviewed and all the rest. If you look at the tax GDP ratio, we're still doing 13% compared to, some would say, our peers. What would you tell those who might argue that sometimes these targets are still low, and therefore, quote, we shouldn't be excited when GRA is able to collect these taxes? Looking at the size of our economy, we should be collecting more than what we've collected.
I think we don't deny the fact that as a nation, we need to improve upon our tax collection. And therefore, we believe that there are many strategies that we have to put in place that will ensure that our revenue increases significantly. And that is one of the reasons why we saw that this year's revenue collection in terms of year-on-year increase is the most highest year-on-year increase in the last 10 years of 26.3%. And then you also saw that as you have said, the tax to GDP ratio, which was about 12.59% last year, now increased to 13.4%. And in the next year's budget, that is 2022, we have budgeted to increase it further to 16.5%. And so, if you look at the structure of our tax system now, there is room to change the structure and to change the methods and to ensure that we bring more people into the tax net, and therefore be able to move towards the 18-20%, which is what so to conclude on trying to answer your question, I won't say that the targets as they are set now is low. The targets are quite significantly high, but if we are able to work on the various methods and the various issues of ensuring compliance, then we should be able to move our tax to GDP ratio very high.
But you don't, what do you say to the critics or the skeptics who are saying that GRA has met its targets over the years because the targets were low?
I think that you will notice that even over the years, in the last 5 years, this is the first year that the target has not been revised at the mid-year review. For every year, the target has been revised downwards. And it tells you that the target is not that low. If it is that low, then it would have been very easy to meet the targets. But you see consistently that as the struggles come in the middle of the year, the tax is revised downwards, and then we do achieve the targets. But for 2021, the target that was set in 2020 at the beginning of the year, the budget was read, was not revised downwards, and it's this target that we met. So the targets are not low at all. They are quite high in the midst of the situation, the environment.
And that was AM Business for another Wednesday morning. Call it a windfall for our revenue mobilization. Thank you for watching. We'll be back to sew it all up on the AM show. Do stay. It's 5 minutes to the top of the hour. Thank you so much for your company all through this morning on the AM show. My name is Benjamin Akakpo. Don't you forget, we bring you major news bulletins at 10 a.m. and at noon as well. Stay with us for the rest of our programming. Lovely day.